I want to see if you find this every bit as distasteful as I do, because this to me just lays the foundation for Urban Meyer going back to the University of Florida. Let's play that now.
And I want to set this up before I play it so people aren't confused. This is Urban Meyer talking about Florida and the state of the program. And bear with this, guys. It's about a 2.5-minute clip, but you got to hear the whole clip because the entire clip is worth listening to.
Worth it.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to play the whole clip. So just bear with us for a second.
Last night, I said, yeah, I talked to Coach Steve Spurrier last night. I said something. I said, were you in the game? And he said he left, to beat the traffic, but he said it was bad. And when that momentum is such a fragile thing because people want to win and won now and would do anything. You see these buyouts, you're going to talk about them here in a minute, where they just keep firing people because you start to lose momentum. You lose momentum, you lose recruiting. You lose, and then fans and NIL. And I mean, I'm getting a little bit stressed out here even thinking about what's happening there because the momentum is gone. It's been gone for a while there, and that's hard to imagine. I mean, there's no better place. There's no better stadium. It's like a freaking jet engine right behind you when you're cooking. Jobs are based on recruiting, and there's within a 300-mile radius. You don't have to go anywhere else. I was offered the Notre Dame job and the Florida job, and I'm Irish Catholic, and I love Notre Dame. I would go there in a minute. But the reason I took Florida, not many people know this, is because I had young kids at the time. When you recruit for Notre Dame, Mark, you recruit Los Angeles, Phoenix, Dallas, New Jersey, New York, Memphis, and Florida. You know where you recruit when you're Florida? You got a King Air and you got a Citation at your disposal. I was home almost every night because you recruit Tampa, you recruit Miami, you recruit Polk County, you go up in Georgia, but you're home. And so Florida's got it all right there.
It's funny the things that come back to your brain and just like your first memories of somebody or something. And Coach, one of my first memories of you was a classic video clip to Coldplay, I Will Fix You. And it was Urban coming to Gainesville to fix the Florida Gators. And I remember it vividly. It was so great. And all the Gator Nation was behind you and feeling this change of pace. And I guarantee you there's some boosters, there's some alums out there saying, you know what? Let's find Urban Meyer's number and let's get his tail back down to Gainesville. Somebody called you, said, Coach, come fix us again. What would you tell them?
That ship has sailed, Mark. And I want that program to do well so bad. I know so many people there, and we give a big part of our life to that program. But that ship has sailed, Mark.
Okay, let's go ahead and cut that off. All right, so it's a lot to unpack. Caleb, I think he's laying the foundation that he would like to have the job there. And I think he realizes that Lane Kiffin has already reached out to schools like Florida and like LSU before Brian Kelly was hired. I can tell you that's a fact. And he realizes that Lane Kiffin is in this position where he couldn't feasibly take the job because of the timing that has been laid out by the NCAA, and that's the early signing period in December, and then you have the portal opening shortly thereafter. So, Caleb, a lot to unpack there. Am I spot on, or am I being conspiracy theorist guy?
You're being conspiracy theorist guy, but I'm not going to blame you for being conspiracy theorist guy. I have a different conspiracy theory, but I'm going to be crazy Caleb conspiracy right now too. And I disagree with you. I think he's dead serious on the ship has sailed. And I'll tell you why. Unless you're Arkansas, I don't think when a coach leaves in a certain fashion, I don't think you can sell hiring them back. To give you an example, Dave, just real quick before I get to Urban Meyer in Florida, after the whole Greg Schiano fiasco blew up, a lot of Tennessee fans wanted Tennessee to hire Lane Kiffin back. There was no way that the boosters would have let that happen, right? There was no way in hell Lane Kiffin could ever be hired back at Tennessee with how he left.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, okay. But how do you view the way Urban Meyer left Florida?
It's not just how I view it. Edgar just said it, and it's how many Florida fans feel. They feel that, I'm not saying this narrative is fair, but a lot of the narrative of Urban Meyer at Florida is this. He inherited 3 years worth of Ron Zook recruits who, whatever you think of Ron Zook, was a hell of a recruiter, right? Best recruiter between Zook, Spurrier, and Urban. Ron Zook was the best of those three recruiters.
Great.
Inherited 3 years worth of Ron Zook recruits. Inherited a defensive coordinator who at the time was one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. And then inherited Tim Tebow, who fell out of the sky into his lap as the best quarterback in history to be able to run the spread option, just happened to line up timing-wise. And the narrative comes that he, after inheriting all that, threw all discipline to the side, threw anything about running a program properly to the side, threw all morals to the side, and just let Florida and cashed in on that early and set the program back decades with his lack of control, his purposeful lack of control. And many people believe that even though Will Muschamp didn't work out, even though Jim McElwain didn't work out, even though Dan Mullen didn't work out, many people believe that Urban Meyer left the program in such a mess with its lack of discipline that he shattered the reputation of Florida and made it almost impossible to be able to recruit at a national level there, because the reputation of Florida to this day is if you go there, you are going to a culture of murderers, of sexual harassers, of stalkers, of terrible people surrounding you. And the truth of the matter is, it's hard to shed that reputation. I think Urban did such a piss poor job caring about that. The reputation is so bad there that I think it's still lasting to this day at Florida.
Well, I think the right coach, maybe you and I differ a little bit on this. I think the right coach could change the culture, especially if you're willing to give a mulligan year and give it some time. New poll question up, Caleb. I want you to read that off. Brought to you by the UPS store, Hardin Valley. They're there to help individuals and small businesses by offering a wider range of products and services, locally owned and operated, conveniently located, 10629 Hardin Valley Road, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. The link is right below. Caleb, the new poll question is:
what's the worst thing Urban Meyer did at Florida? Give up on Florida, citing his health reasons, recruiting thugs, and dirty dancing with Barfly. I think you left one off the list.
Which one did I leave off the list?
Many of the thugs are already on the list. Sometimes coaches, it's their job to help mold those thugs into, I don't want to say thugs, but kids who have wayward backgrounds that can kind of straighten themselves up. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but there's such a thing as just, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but Urban Meyer encouraged kids.
I've covered recruiting. Okay, I want to give you an example. You know, Eddie Goldman, who played for Florida State, Tennessee recruited out of Washington, D.C. It was as inner city of a place as I've ever gone. And he was a yes, sir, no, sir guy. I could tell right away he's a great kid. I took his whole family to dinner. You know, you have an idea in the guys that you recruit and the guys that are on your team, and you've got to disassociate yourself. That's the thing that's so bizarre to me. Aaron Hernandez was a heck of a tight end. There's no doubt about that. Okay. But they still could have won a championship or two without Aaron Hernandez, who was showing signs of being a psychopath back then.
Well, wait, but see, there's a difference. Aaron Hernandez is a straight up psychopath, sociopath. I'm talking about the kid that's on the fence, the kid that is not Eddie Goldman, but that, first of all, Aaron Hernandez didn't come from a bad background.
Eddie wasn't even on the fence. I was just thinking of inner city or.
Okay, let's think of this. Yeah, because Aaron Hernandez wasn't even inner city. He grew up in the suburbs. He just wanted this lifestyle. Think about the inner city kid that he makes a lot of mistakes. He may give off the reputation of a thug, but you say, you cover recruits like this. You're like, he were in the right environment. If he played in the Josh Heupel culture, he could turn into a good kid. You've covered kids like that, right?
Yes. But I'll tell you what, I'll give you a great, I don't feel comfortable sharing this name, but I've also covered a guy that went to a private school that was really surprised he was even being recruited in the beginning, got caught up in the recruiting process, and ended up being a big jackwagon. And he's been a big jackwagon in the NFL. So, and in the flip side, I don't mind outing this guy because I was more excited about Alvin Kamara having a great game than I was caring about the Cowboys losing on Sunday, because Alvin Kamara sat behind another guy that he was better than at Tennessee, went through the junior college trials, which a lot of kids never make it through. I'm telling you, Caleb, this studio is bigger than some junior college weight rooms I've seen. Always had a smile on his face and always a good guy. I think that was a good guy from the get.
Yes, but he did get dismissed from Alabama. And what I'm trying to say is that
That's a little iffy.
I think because Urban Meyer let the culture go wild, that even if there was a kid on the fence, if they went to Florida, they'd be good at Florida, but they would kind of fall through the cracks because Urban Meyer didn't care. Here's where I'm getting with Urban Meyer on all of this, because Urban Meyer just flat out, we can both agree, he did not care, right? He didn't care if you're killing people if you're going to win him a football game. And
As long as you can get away with it.
yeah, exactly. And so let's point this out with Urban Meyer. Here's what really grated me with what he said on that podcast. One, he faked his stress again. He faked that health. Did you notice that? Watching it's making me so stressed out. He's trying to remind people, guys, I have a mental health issue, and you should show me some sympathy. That was what he did. Number one.
And then he went to esophageal spasms, which I've had those. I actually have. It ain't that big of a deal.
Let me give you my conspiracy on this, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I don't think he wants the Florida job back. I don't think he cares to have it back. What I think he doesn't like is that he's kind of a pariah in Florida despite 2 national titles. And I think he's trying to be like, guys, don't you remember what I did for you? I'm not a bad guy. I just have stress problems, and I really love the university. And can you guys please accept me? I mean, Dave, Urban Meyer has 2 national titles. Steve Spurrier has 1, yet Florida worships Steve Spurrier way more than Urban Meyer. I think Urban Meyer's a little jealous of that. I think he's a little jealous of that.
He just has no class. He didn't even say Billy Napier's name.
He's a
and he just, that's not something that Steve Spurrier would have done. Steve Spurrier we could call him brash all you want, but he wouldn't throw Billy Napier under the bus. And we were going to try to get Pat Dooley on, who does a weekly show with him. And I guarantee you, I can tell you right now what Steve Spurrier would say, and that would be this: hope Billy can get it turned around. Things don't look so good, but hope Billy can get it turned around. I mean, that's the right thing to say as an alumnus publicly, or a former coach publicly.
But Dave, that's why Steve Spurrier is beloved in Florida, and Urban Meyer's probably never welcomed back. I mean, it's weird. Don't you find it weird that like they never bring Urban Meyer back for anything, and he won 2 national titles? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Steve Spurrier is absolutely beloved, and even though Urban Meyer won more national titles. And so
Let me ask you this. Would you be fearful of Lane Kiffin because of the class he assembled in 2009 with Tennessee, which literally, not exaggerating, had more felons than all SEC players, and had a murderer in the group? And he knew that a lot of them had questionable character. Now, we're in a different era of NIL in the transfer portal. But would you, if you did your research and you went back and looked at that 2009 team, then I knew they were getting extra benefits. It was obvious. Would that concern you, or are you just concerned? Or has Lane Kiffin completely shed that past? To me, Lane Kiffin has completely shed that past. I think he's quirky. I think he's funny. I don't think he's as much of a me guy anymore. Age will do that to you. To me, he's the natural candidate.
Here's the thing with Lane Kiffin, and I personally wouldn't worry about it, but there's a lot more that was going on. Let's call it what it is with Tennessee at the time, Dave. Tennessee, the reason he was so brash and the reason he didn't care about recruiting, I know this. I think Tennessee was so resentful of Florida during that time and the success. I think that, I'm just going to say it, Dave. I think the administration, and you were there, I think they were more interested in winning the back page headlines than they were in actually winning games. And I think they wanted to knock Florida off the front page of the sports section of national papers. And they wanted to do that more than they wanted to knock Florida off the top of the SEC. And I think Lane Kiffin got a task from above of engage in public war with Urban Meyer. And that's why he didn't care about who he was getting. And and I don't think he would do that now, because I don't think he would be at a university that would demand he do that. You have to give me this. I know you were covering it. Tennessee was actively embracing Lane Kiffin, not caring about any sort of morals or discipline at Tennessee at that time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he did that. Nobody covered the signing day thing.
The new Keith Richardson thing when he said Urban cheated?
Yeah, nobody used to cover that when he would go across the state and talk to all these people. I didn't cover, and I was the beat reporter. Nobody covered that because it was just, we like this guy, we like this guy, we like this guy. And suddenly John Adams, for some reason, went, and he's like, this is red hot, and calls me and I'm like, oh, let's get cracking here.
they wanted the Tennessee administration wanted that out there. They wanted Lane Kiffin to publicly take a shot at Urban Meyer because they were so. It's very much how, if you guys know the New York market, the Jets versus the Giants. The Jets fans resent the Giants so much that the Jets organization will go out of their way to try to steal back page headlines on the New York Post, even if it costs them games in the year. They'll make moves just to win the back page all season headlines. Tennessee was trying to do that with Florida. They were. I mean, I'm sorry that maybe people may not want to hear that. Lane Kiffin's not going to get that if he goes to Florida.
I don't think they ever did it at the behest of their program. I think Lane Kiffin knew that he could publicly bully Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer wouldn't do anything about it. And I think he thought he was a better coach. He never said anything publicly negative about Nick Saban because he knew he wasn't the better coach.
He also,
I'm not with you on the last part of that, but I don't think it was just for attention. I think he was getting attention, saying that this is going to be a better program and bragging about new Keith Richardson.
Rest in peace, but Mike Hamilton did at one point say, I love Lane Kiffin talking about it, talking the way he does. It generates buzz for our program. That is code for the attention is the important thing.
Yeah, but the Jets, you're saying the Jets make moves at the
like when the Jets traded for Tim Tebow. Let's be honest. The Jets traded for Tim Tebow right after the Giants won the Super Bowl. Dave, you and I both know they did that because they wanted to make sure they stole headlines from the Giants.